For some Fire Emblem players, it's all about making the best possible builds you can by endgame, and decking out your characters to be their best selves. In this 5-part series, we'll be covering the most optimal classes to make every one of your units in Fire Emblem Three Houses. In this first part, we'll be covering what every one of the master classes is, and requires, so which fields need to be trained for a unit to go on to become that class. The next 4 parts will focus on what the optimal master classes are for everyone in the Black Eagles, Blue Lions, Golden Deer, and Church of Seiros are. One thing to keep in mind for the further parts, we won't be covering the main 4 characters, as they each get their own unique class down the line as per the story. We'll only be mentioning what those classes are built to excel in, so you can still teach them in what's best for endgame. As well, any character can, in theory, become any class if you train them in the right fields. For these guides for the best builds, we'll be focusing on improving a character's strengths as best we can, while typically avoiding training weaknesses to make the strongest possible units we can. As well, most classes can wield most weapons, with exceptions being riders can't wield gauntlets, and only certain classes can use magic. As such, it wouldn't do to put somebody adept in magic in a non-magic class, or give somebody adept in gauntlets a horse. One thing to also keep in mind, every character in the game has it predetermined what spells they can learn. Characters who don't typically excel in magic are usually the ones who can only learn a few basic spells at most. So even though any character can be almost anything with enough time and effort dumped into them, there are some characters that will always just suck at flinging spells, having only a limited arsenal to work with. This series will not include any footage past the halfway point of the game, or contain any spoilers for the story. As such, I can't show footage of the classes I discuss in use in actual battles. Alright, let's start off this series by covering what all the master classes are, so we can discuss which classes everyone should be in the further parts. The Mortal Savant is the furthest class down the line of sword expertise, in this case now picking up magic to add to the repertoire. To become this class, a unit is recommended to achieve A with swords and B+ with reason magic. For units who aim to make this class, it may be a good idea to teach your sword fighters some magic on the side, even if they can't use it for a while, or to teach mages swords. Good candidates for this role excel at both sword and magic. The Great Knight is one of the highest classes down the Cavalier line, and the only one down the Knight line of classes, by seemingly combining Fortress Knight and Paladin into one. This class recommends having Axe B+, Heavy Armor A, and Riding B+. As such, Cavaliers who will become this one day, it may be a good idea to train in armor, or give group tasks to improve the field, as well as wielding an axe as a main weapon. Knights looking to become this will need riding trained on the side. Like all mounted units, the Great Knight has access to Canto, the ability to spend the remaining movement after performing an action. The Bow Knight is the other potential class best for paladins and cavaliers to one day become, by focusing on bows instead of armor, as well as the furthest class down the archer line. Recommended to have Lance C, Bow A, and Riding A to get into this class. With the class skill of Bow Range +2, bringing standard bow range to 4, this class is able to easily pick off foes from a safe distance, while traversing across the map with high movement. It can be a great class for units with high speed who will often double attack, or units with lower defense or resistance who you want to keep away from the front lines. For cavaliers looking to become this one day, some bow practice will go a long way, and as for archers, they should practice some riding and lances on the side. Next up we have the Dark Knight, as the typical final class for reason magic specialists. Recommended to have Lance C, Reason B+, and Riding A, this class boasts high movement like other riding classes, while still being great at offensive magic. Mages who will want to go on to be this class, it would be good to teach and equip lances from time to time in battles, while teaching and giving group tasks for riding. The Holy Knight is the Faith Magic version of the Dark Knight, with a recommendation of Lance C, Faith B+, and Riding A. Same as the Dark Knight, but focusing on a primarily support role with the White Magic. Same situation as Dark Knight, give mages who want to become this a lance to finish off some enemies with in battle when they can, and be sure to teach some lances and riding, as well as the occasional riding group task. Falcon Knight is a female-only class, being the highest of the Pegasus Knight line. Recommended Sword C, Lance A, and Flying B+. It makes sense to give any Pegasus Knight some sword practice too. Being a flying unit, they are weak to bows, but Falcon Knights have especially high resistance, allowing them to tank magical damage with ease. Wyvern Lord is the typical promotion of the Wyvern Rider class, recommending Lance C, Axe A, and Flying A, so giving Wyvern Riders some lance practice is a good idea. Being a flying unit, they are weak to bows, and Wyvern Lords don't typically have that spectacular of a resistance stat, making them potentially susceptible to magical damage. Being flying, however, they are able to have the most movement possible, and both Falcon Knights and Wyvern Lords can zoom across the map with ease. The Warmaster is a male-only class that focuses on both brawling and axes, with recommended levels of A in both to become this class. With a class skill of crit plus 20, this class is able to become an absolute crit machine. Any units adept in axes or brawling who are looking to become this class should be learning the other of the two as well, between axes and brawling. The Gremio is a female-only class who is a master of all forms of magic. Recommended levels of Reason A and Faith A, this class is able to shred through enemies with more powerful magic spells, and use the limited but better support spells more often than other classes, having the unique class ability of double the uses of all magic. Female mixed magic experts should likely strive on to be a Gremio. As for the 4 unique classes of the 4 main characters, I won't get into what they are, and there's no requirement to get them, they're automatically obtained. But if you want to know what the classes excel at to train those early on for stronger units later, it's as follows. Byleth will excel in Sword, Brawling, Faith, and Authority. Edelgard's final class will have her focusing on Axe, Authority, and Heavy Armor. Dimitri will have a focus on Sword, Lance, and Authority. And Claude will excel in Bow, Authority, and Flying. We'll also briefly mention this again for each character in the part for their respective house. Now, it may not be a master class, but another final class to potentially have a unit be is Dancer. This is a special class that you can only get for 1 unit as per an event, which is on a time limit that you don't want to miss.
It has come to my attention that you did not participate in the White Heron Cup. Were none of your students skilled in dance?
I thought I had another day. You are kidding me right now. I've already saved.
With the White Heron Cup concluded, all that is left is to wait for the ball. I hope you will find it enjoyable.
The Dancer excels at both Sword and Authority. As well, the class gains a unique sword combat art, Sword Dance, which makes it easier to dodge counterattacks, and increases might based on the charm stat. The Dancer can expend a turn to dance for an adjacent unit, allowing that unit to move a second time in the same turn, as well as get a buff once you gain the skill for it. One important note about the Dancer is it is a class that can also wield magic. What with Dancer already being a supporting class, this class is most likely best suited for those who already excel at support with faith magic to take their support even further. That's it for master classes. In the next part of this series, we'll be covering my recommended master classes for every unit of the Black Eagles house and what they excel in. If you have any questions about any of this, leave a comment down below, or better yet, ask me directly on my Twitch or through my Discord server where we have a Fire Emblem channel, links in the description below. I hope I've been able to help, and until next time, I'll see you on the battlefield. The autosave is... Aww. I literally completely missed out on the Dancer class. Oh my goodness, I cannot believe it.